This part of the video is just going to be covering how to collect the errors that the form may have so that you only write to the database if everything is in order. Okay, so at this point, we really just have a basic form that we have to enter our information to, and we do check to make sure that there are values entered here, and it gives errors. And so I gave a little example here, and we can enter a few things: name, email, and password. I hit submit, and this was the result of the name, email, and password. And it does hold the values, but what we really need to do is make sure that all three are in order before we can write to the database. What we're going to do is just alter the code that we have so far. So if you haven't looked at this code already, you can go back to the previous video and check it out. So at this point, for each field, I check to see if the field is not empty, right? So in this case, I'm checking to see if name is not empty. If it's not empty, I'm setting a variable to it. If it is empty, I'm then creating an error, and then I'm saying you didn't enter your name. This could actually just be an empty string if I'd like, instead of no name entered. And what I want to do is collect these errors. For instance, you didn't enter your name, you didn't enter your email or your password. So to collect them, I'm going to be making a brand new variable. And just out of simplicity, I'm going to call it errors. And I'm going to be setting that to an empty string to collect these values. So if there's an error, instead of echoing it at this point, what I want to do is collect it. So I'm going to say errors equals errors dot, and then the error. So what this will do is concatenate on you didn't enter your name to whatever errors already had. Initially, it starts out as an empty string, so the first error is just going to say, for instance, you didn't enter your name. I'm going to do the same for these other ones, and I can simply copy and paste that instead of the echo. And instead of having this variable as no email entered and pass, I think I'm just going to make that be empty strings as well. And so for any of these, if there's an error, it will put that into the errors variable. So now we get here, what we can do, right now I have displaying what was entered no matter what. I can change that if there are no errors. So I could put an if statement here. So I'm saying if errors is still an empty string, as in there were no errors, I'm going to echo the name, email, and password. Else, if there were errors, I'm going to echo errors. So it will only display back what was entered if there are no errors. Otherwise, it'll echo the errors. So let me save this and try it out. So let's say I don't enter anything. So now it says you didn't enter your name, email, or password, but notice it doesn't write anything else. And now notice it writes jeff@pinball.com. Now, if there was an error, let's just remove one, and I hit submit. Notice it does not write any of the name, email, or pass. There has to be a value there. So by collecting the errors, we can ensure there's a section of code that will only run if all of the form fields are correct. Now, the next step I'll be showing in the next video is how to set up the connection string that you'll be including to connect to your database.